When did you arrive in Australia?
In 1931.
1931 or 1931 or 30? You said 34.
31 or 32, something like that. It was my mother, my sister, and I. Also, Ilya Marco, his mother and his sister. We came on the same boat, and it was the name of the Italian boat, Esquilino. I remember that.
When you arrived in Australia?
Yeah.
Who lived in Australia from your family?
My father.
Your father was here in Australia, yeah?
But he was in America before he came to Australia.
Okay. So tell me, when you came to Australia, what did you do as a young kid?
First and foremost, I went to school.
Yep.
And I remember the name of the school and the teacher. It was Highgate Hill School, and the teacher was Miss Crawford. Her brother was a champion tennis player in 1931, 32, 33. I remember the lady, Miss Crawford, a very tall lady, jet black hair and blue eyes. She helped me a tremendous lot for me to be able to involve myself in the Australian movement. Miss Crawford.
So that was your involvement in the Australian community.
Yeah.
But what about the Macedonians? So did you have any contacts, any Macedonian kids at your school?
Yes, always.
So how many kids were from Macedonian background?
West Australian newspaper, it was this. There's a sprinkling of different nationalities, especially the Macedonian top students. So across where I was living, there's a milk bar. And in the milk bar, there's an Indian girl who spoke perfect English. So I got this girl money, and we went there. And they said, please explain to this man, what does this mean? And he said, and there's a sprinkling of others, but Macedonians на нас не подкрепят така, што пишеше вестникот. Го има тој вестник за долго време. I had that paper for a long time, but unfortunately I lost the cutting.
Okay, so tell me about your involvement into the Macedonian community. How did you get involved?
Well, right from the word go, as I said, Ilya Malko and I and his family and their family, we spoke about it even from the word go. And we believe that our unfriendly neighbours deliberately tried to erase our identity. So we were not going to sit down and be wiped out. So we decided to fight. And we did fight, and we did succeed. And nobody can wipe out our Macedonian identity. Постоеше, it lived, and it will live forever.
Yes, you are one of the founders of the Macedonian People's League.
Yeah.
Macedonian Australian People's League. Tell me, what was the idea of the Macedonian Australian People's League?
Well, to unite the Macedonians was one idea. But let me say, Stoyan Srbinov was also involved, and Stoica Stoichev was involved. So, and then Natarpko was involved from Melbourne.
Yes. Yeah.
And Risto Altonen said, and actually, eventually what happened, we formed Australia-wide association. And we succeeded to be involved in the Australian affairs, and we also succeeded to get support from the Prime Minister and others in the government. But unfortunately now, nothing like this is happening. Yeah.
Then you formed, the committee formed subcommittee to collect money for a hospital to be built in Macedonia.
Yeah.
Tell me more about it.
Well, what actually happened, there's still a warfare in Aegean Macedonia. And we thought that we should build a hospital on the border. But we also left...
That means in Bitola?
Yeah, but we also left that open. The government would be able to identify the best part where the hospital should be built. And the money was sent, and unfortunately, the unfortunate people here, they said that Ilija Malko stole the money, which was false. Because when I went back to Macedonia, I went and I tackled the minister there. He said, yes. At the beginning, he said, no. But we sent the money through the Red Cross.
Yep.
And we had documentation. So when I came back from Macedonia after he was denying it, I said, interviewed at the office here in Rose Bay. And we made an appointment. The first time he said, we want to know about this money. He was Peter Boško, Vasil Boško, very old Macedonian bloke. He was a good patriot. Unfortunately, he's passed away. His son is alive. It's called Peter Boškov. And we went there and we said, we want to know about this money. So the consulate then, he said, I'll make inquiries. He said, come back in a week's time or so. Well, came back there.
Tell me about the branches of the Macedonian Australian People's League, like the newspaper Spark and the radio that you were the first Macedonian broadcaster.
Yeah. And what actually happened at that particular time, the Yugoslavian, they had a radio station, Sekojā, on Wednesdays. So
that was in Perth.
Yeah. So what they done, they gave us quarter of an hour of the program to us. Because Luka Markovic, which I was a personal friend of his, we were very good friends.
Was he Croatian?
He was Croatian. Unfortunately, he was blind in communism. So when I went back to Macedonia, and his wife with a little girl, they went back to Croatia. So I helped his wife and the little sick girl to get there. And I took photographs of his wife and the little sick girl as evidence. Because this Luka, he was so blinded in communism that they wouldn't listen to anything. So after being there for a while, I came back to Australia. And I got Luka. I said, Luka, your wife said to me, please don't go back to Yugoslavia. They were her words, because it's no good here. So he wouldn't believe me. So I gave him the photograph. I said, there's a photograph of your wife and your little daughter. And then he believed.
Okay, tell me about the role of the Macedonian newspaper.
Macedonska Iskra.
Yeah, Macedonian newspaper.
Well, most of the fight was to more or less give a sight to the Australian government, Australian people, that Macedonians exist and will exist, and they are good citizens, which we were. In Menjumak, they grew tobacco, and a Greek company called Macalidis, who had a tobacco factory in Perth, went bankrupt, and all the money, the tobacco that he took off the Macedonians, he robbed them. They never got a cent back. And we continued to fight for the truth.
And who was the editor of the newspaper? Who were?
Right. Ilija Malko, Kiro Angelkov, Stojan Srbinov, and me.
Okay, where did you find the articles? The articles, how did you create it? How did you produce?
Listening to the news, getting newspapers, Australian newspapers, English, Greek, because I can read and write Greek.
Okay. And English as well?
Yeah.
And Macedonian?
Yeah. And Italian.
And Italian as well. Okay, I didn't know that. Okay.
So what actually happened, we continued to fight because we felt we were justified and we were on the right. We weren't falsifying anything.
Right, why?
Yeah. Most of the others were falsifying to increase the popularity. No, we told the people the truth in our paper.
Was the newspaper bilingual or just in Macedonian?
It was in Latinica, but Macedonian words.
And any English articles?
Oh yes, we wrote it in English as well. Part of it was in English, part of it was in Macedonian.
So who is doing the English part?
Ilya Malko and I in English, Stojan Serbenov and Kiro Angelkov in Macedonian.
So the newspaper was sent to every city in Australia?
Yeah, and we sent even some to Canada and America.
Do you remember the American Macedonian People's League and Canadian Macedonian People's League?
Now I can't recollect, but we did send them copies there.
Copies there.
The communications were not very good. I used to get help. Ilya Malko and Stojan Serbinov and Kiro Angelkov. So I didn't want to do it on my own because just in case I forgot something, I made mistakes. So by having us, four of us together, the program was very good and exceptionally well received. That's the important part about it. And Ilya Malko's father had a little coffee shop, 242 William Street in Perth. And that's where we held the first meeting.
Okay.
242 William Street, Perth. When we thought we'd call a meeting, we expected about 5 or 6 people. When we got there, the place was packed. There's no standing room even. So we were very encouraged. So from there on, we took off.
The Macedonian Australian People's League, that was the foundation of the Macedonian community in Australia.
Yeah.
So there were established branches in every capital, state
Well,
capital.
even in small towns, wherever there's Macedonians, they all form the little bridge.
So that organization was very powerful.
Yes. Well, we had grassroots, which is very important. No grassroots will die. And it's a pity we haven't got anything like that now.
Yes, but okay, because we're running out of time, just I want to ask you about the current situation of Macedonia. So our name has been changed to North Macedonia. As you are close to 100 years old, how did you accept it?
I didn't accept it, I won't accept it. For me, it's only one Macedonia. Macedonians or Macedoniste.
So,
You know who said that? Gladstone. Ever heard of Gladstone?
yes, yes, yes.
He was an Englishman. When I went to England, I went up there. Actually, we were on a tour with my wife. There's 55 people in the tour. There's the driver and a manager. The manager was a retired Scottish history teacher. When we got near Gladstone, the statue, I said, "Stop the bus." She said, "Why?" I said, "I want a photograph in front of Gladstone." She stopped the bus, and I'll never forget her name. Her name was Dawn, the same as my daughter. So,
Okay, tell me a few sentences about Zoran Zaev.
look, I have no time for traitors. I have absolutely no time. I don't believe him. He's not a good person, and anybody who denies the identity of Macedonians can't be any good for me. He'll never be any good for me. Because when we were going to build the church here, we got support from the Russian church, we got support from the English church, and we got support from other churches as well. The only ones that doзволена us, Гърците и Българите.
Okay, thank you very much. I think it was a great interview. Pleasure to have an interview with you.
Nice having you with us.
Thank you, Mick. And so, as you said, I wish you to live 120 years and to be the oldest person in
119 will do.